I don't care what you ladies say. Having a man is better than not having one. And I was alone for 2 years. I don't want to go back there.
You act as if 2 years is a lifetime.
At my age, it is.
Your age? Listen, you're gonna settle for a man and you know he's sleeping around on you. You're a better woman than that. Please tell her.
What he's doing is wrong. We all know that. You can always find a better man any day of the week.
Any day of the week.
I'd like to go to the panel, and what's your take on that? Anybody can start off. I don't feel like I should call names.
Wow. The fact that you can find a man any day of the week, like Mondays are notoriously not very good days to find men. And I don't know, it just seems like she's settling, you know what I mean? Like maybe she didn't have that male guidance in her life, you know what I mean? Like I think that's very important to have that strong male figure in your life. Like I didn't have one myself, so I'm a little messed up. Like I have my grandparents, you know, my grandpa, he was cool, but when I was a kid, he told me I looked like the love child of Lionel Richie and El DeBarge, and those are both dudes, which really made me upset. You know, I was so angry, I could have danced on the ceiling, but instead I just ran off into the rhythm of the night.
How do you follow that one? So I have this thing that I teach in my class. I call it unconscious agenda. And you know when you go to a meeting, you have an agenda, you know what you're going to get done. Like tonight, we have an agenda. We know what we're here for. Well, we have a conscious agenda, I want to be in relationship. But we also have an unconscious agenda that tends to sabotage it. I see an unconscious agenda in her that I'm not good enough to be worthy of deserving what I really want, or what I could really have, or really truly love. And I call that an unconscious agenda, and that's what I hear speaking when she talks about it. So women with an unconscious agenda of, I'm not good enough, therefore I don't deserve the real deal, will choose just anyone.
Tony, I'm curious, how do those ladies know what their girlfriend wants? I mean, how do you know that that woman isn't happy being used?
I thought we were not going to talk about sexual techniques and behaviors being used. You know, I'm a little different. When I was growing up, I was what they called a player. I mean a hoe. I mean a player. But when you're a male and you're sowing your oats everywhere, is it a hoe or is it a player? Well, we've got great names for guys that we don't have for girls. And so I married the only woman who, in essence, didn't give me any. And
You're the better for it.
and so there's when you have that kind of exclusivity and you have that kind of, here's the hurdle, what are you going to do with it? It makes things different. So her settling for a man who is, again, all over the place, doesn't get her anywhere closer to wanting what she's asking for, exclusivity, completeness, and a relationship. And you know, people, when they recognize areas where you are unstable and open for what I would call, you know, minor violation, they'll take advantage of you. Your kindness can be used as a weakness, but your kindness doesn't need to become something that you use against a person. So I won't be kind to you because you're running around. You need to understand that that is the lifestyle that he is living, and if he were going to change, you don't need 6 months to find this out. You don't need 4 months to find this out. You need a conversation, and then you need an agreed upon time, a moment. It's either done or it's not. And if he doesn't want to change, then you obviously need to move on. But waiting in a relationship with things going on sexually that you do not desire doesn't change anything.
Okay. Vadam, earlier you talked about not knowing ourselves. So we know what we want, but we don't know what we want because we don't know ourselves. Right. In this aspect where she is with somebody, in this respect, how do you go about finding what you want?
I talked about having a relationship with self. And if that young woman had been having a relationship with herself, she would have been having an honesty that the way that she was being treated, the dynamic between the couple, the whole package did not feel well. And if you truly begin to have that relationship with self and that admittance that that does not feel well and that I do deserve to have X, Y, or Z in my relationship that I want. And then once you begin to have that relationship with self and making that decision, then you can begin the stages of creating yourself or being those changes in yourself to say, you know what, that doesn't work for me anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to sit here and belittle myself and let you do this, that, and the other thing, and me just sit here and take it.
That does require a sense of self, and she clearly doesn't have that.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Kim, I do have a question for you. With respect to the video, don't we all need to go through some of these things to realize that we don't want to go through some of these things?
I mean, I certainly, I mean, that's possible. I guess the comment that I would make, and maybe answers that or not, is there are a couple of things that were going on with her in my mind. One is that women who are 35, 40, 45, there's a time factor involved here. And, you know, everybody, whether you know, at some level, not everybody, let's not be absolute, but most people desire an intimate relationship. When you get to be 35, 40, 45, that clock is ticking. And that hunger for love is still there. So you got hunger, you got time, and he's available. You do the math. And that's a reality that many women, and then you add a self-sufficient, career-oriented woman in that scenario, and she's hungry, her time is running out, he's available, and you have a concoction of what we see in many relationships today after marriage. And so there is a hunger that I see in her heart, but he will not be able to answer that hunger because she's not even aware of that hunger. She's not even conversing about that hunger. I would take exception with my colleague here in terms of knowing yourself. That's part of the problem. You know, I can deceive myself pretty good. I paint a picture and an image of myself, and then I hang around people that reinforce that picture of me. So it's not objective because I only have what I have. So for me, as Christian and biblical, I would just modify that statement. No, you need to know you in relationship to this God who is perfect. Then you'll have a more objective, balanced view of yourself. And when in doing that, you'll begin to be able to identify, admit, own, and the hunger and some of the unlovely things that we feel. I don't think it's just a matter of knowing yourself. We have that. We have a plethora of that right now, and we're not better for it, relationally, marriage, or dating-wise. So we need to know ourselves in relationship to somebody who's perfect, and the only person I know is perfect is God through Jesus Christ.
But in having that relationship, a relationship is built upon honesty. And so I am also talking about being honest with oneself about whatever the personality trait is. You have to be honest with yourself to be able to have that relationship with self, or you're still not having a relationship.
Right.
So basically what you're saying, Madame, is that if you're not honest with yourself, you can't actually move towards the relationship that she's speaking with, with someone of a higher power, right?
I would agree with that. That's why I look at I call them unconscious agendas. You're calling them the unlovely things inside. If we don't know that those things are running us, it doesn't matter if we have any kind of relationship. We're still going to run those unconscious agendas. That's the common denominator that you were talking about earlier. And that's part of the self-love. I think you can't have that perfect relationship until you grow yourself up into an adult to be able to do that. You know those signs, baby on board, on the cars? Most of us, and I think some of the people in these videos are the baby on board. And until you grow yourself up to have an adult on board, then it's really hard to have a healthy, loving, long-term, God-loving relationship.
Yeah, and I just like to add, I did the research on sex. I checked to see if anyone in the history of the world has ever died from a lack of sex or orgasm. Because I was...
Are you still researching?
No. And the answer is, you may feel like you're going to die that night, but you're going to wake up in the morning and you'll be better off the next day. So lacking self-control and having multiple partners just going at it because I feel it is a lack of character and integrity. It's a lack of self-control. And so being with someone who lacks self-control will show up in other aspects of their life. So it's not only settling for additional sex partners, you'll be settling for a person who has a lack of discipline in their life, and you never know where that's going to show up later. It could be in their work history, it could become their financial lifestyle, it could be many things. They need to grow up.